Afentis. This is a weapon that is a weapon. Now the Afentis, let's get into its main function. It applies a buff. The buff increases reload speed, fire rate, ammo pools, and reduces accuracy. It is a gun spear or spear gun. I don't really care. So what it does, right? It shoots, explodes, shoots. Great sound, looks cool, flashy, I like it. You throw it, that's the bubble that applies Ballistari Might. Now look at the top of the screen, you see Ballistari Might, you see it's off. See it's on, see it's off. This Ballistari Might applies to your teammates and to yourself, so it does actually apply to the offensive itself. You see how I have 6 ammo? Now I have 24. And now we're just going to go in here real quick. We're going to look at the mod screen to just reset that. You see now how it went back down to 12? So it allows you to essentially overcap your max ammo pool. So it's got some uses. Right off the bat, I just want to let you know, you're mainly using this as a support weapon, right? So let's just spawn some guys in, pause them. So ideally, what you want to do with this weapon is throw it down. And now you see how the Ballistari Might thing is there? If you want it to keep it, you have to get a kill with it. So now my Ballistari Might says like 13 or something like that. So you can keep it so long as you kill someone in the bubble. And while you're in the bubble, it's supposed to pause the timer, but so it's cool, right? It does provide a function, but it's limited. So the main reason you would use this is to buff your secondary, I would say. Maybe to buff your teammates, but the only problem with buffing your teammates with this is you have to throw it near them. They have to get a kill while they're in it to keep it. Otherwise, it just goes away when they leave. So there's a couple restrictions there. On top of that, let's spawn some more dudes. Say there's a lot of guys, and I want to buff my teammate. Oh, I hit someone. Oh, would you look at that? It's not spawning the fucking bubble! Why does it not spawn the bubble? That is ridiculous. That is so unbelievably stupid. It makes me furious. It should spawn the bubble, right? Oh, and check this out. We're gonna do Zada's Whisper, and then we're gonna spawn the bubble. So you'd think like, oh, hey, every weapon's good in mag, right? Every mag plus a weapon? Great. No! Look, it sends them flying. You can't even use it with mag. Oh, and say you use the throw, use the throw. Even if you throw it, it's only hitting them like a couple times, and then it's like done. Those damage numbers you see there are not really from the weapon. They're from my companion or something. It's just inexcusable. It's really hard to use this weapon. It's got low ammo pool, and we're gonna do one other little test. So pay attention to my ammo. 3, 2, 1, and now I'm going to throw it and swap my weapons. All right, I swapped my weapon. I'm getting my buffs up. We're just gonna kill these guys for a little bit because we want to show you that it doesn't matter how long you waited. It doesn't matter if you have the synth set. It doesn't matter what you're doing. When you swap back to it, you're going to have to reload. Isn't that cool? Don't you like reloading? So let's swap back to it, and it's forcing me to reload. Isn't that awesome? Don't you love a weapon that no matter what you do, you are forced to reload with it, even if you're using weapons that manually reload it while it's holstered? That's really cool, right? So not a good choice on mag, but who is this weapon good on? I would say it's good on Harrow. So before we get into the weapon build itself, let's just kind of like do general housekeeping with it, because I think it's important to, like, the weapon build is not really important in this specific weapon because it's just not a good weapon. So in order to get the most of this weapon, you really need to, the reason I say use Harrow is because he can have armor strip with pillage. So right off the bat, it's like not even just Harrow, it's also a pillage Harrow, so even more restrictive. So he can slap his back, so now I actually have reasonable fire rate and reload, right? So that's another reason we're using it. So now we're also going to just sit there and let them pee all over us. We're just going to be a scat fetishist for a little bit while they poop on our face. So that way we can get the bonus from this. Might as well whip myself. Might as well do that. So now we have some buffs. Now it can actually like kill and like provide a function. Like, see, I shot that guy once. Look, it almost did half his health. So once you get everything cranking, it can actually like get kills. Like, I'm actually getting kills now. but part of it is it's got limited ammo, right? It really wants you to use its weapon, use this effect to make it worth it. So you can't even use the weapon like alone. You're gonna have to get the Ballistari Might buff in order to really like get anything out of it. So as you can see, like I was able to kill these non-Steel Path level enemies by using a Harrow build, by using these buffs, by using a Helminth ability. So it is like I said, this weapon is usable, but and I just want to show you. Look, this is sorted by usage. I have used this weapon a lot. I've used this weapon almost as much as the Aceltra. I've used it more than the Ogress and more than the Kuva Tsar. This is the Tsar, my inordinate oblation. And I've put 5 Forma into this, so I've invested heavily into this. This is not like I just did it willy-nilly, here's the video. So now let's look at the actual build I'm using. I have 4 slots for this, so I even bought a slot for it, and 2 different Rivens. The Rivens I have for are a 69 roll, nice. Crit damage, crit chance, minus puncture, which puncture is its primary damage, but that's okay. And then a corrosive multi-shot. That's essentially what this is, with 95 rolls. So 2 Rivens, over 100 rolls. Pretty heavily invested into this. Now, of all my testing, of all my builds, I've done more than just these 4 builds. This corrosive heat build is the best build that I have found for it. So if you were to do this build for yourself, I would probably replace Hammer Shot with one of the corrosive mods, right? Like this is my toxin and electricity, so I would just make these to apply corrosive, and then you'll, like, even if you're just using the 60/60 mods, like you'll probably have a lot better status chance, so you'll actually be applying statuses with it. But for my purposes, I like I said, I'm using it on Harrow. I'm gonna get the actual critical damage from this. Now I have tried, I'm not gonna go over all the builds I have tried just the super raw crit build, super raw. Unfortunately, it didn't work sufficiently. Even if like you replace Galvanized Aptitude for a Bane, not very good results, unfortunately. So I'm just going to be covering the one build today. Like I said, I do have a viral rad build to spread status, a super crit build, another viral slash build with some like I've tried a lot of different builds, and I've fallen on this as the most effective. So what is the build? Critical damage, multi-shot, critical chance, corrosive multi-shot, damage, heat, and some status, critical damage and status chance, and then just raw damage and the utility of sprint speed. And then, of course, terminal velocity, because it does have projectile time, so I just feel like this is the best. But this is 5 Forma, so this is heavily invested. Now, if were you to get a Riven on your own, the Rivens for this weapon is a major trap. I constantly see people offering Rivens for this weapon, and they never want to sell the Rivens. Even if they're unrolled, they never want to sell the Rivens for under 100 plat. So if you were to get a Riven for this weapon, I would get it unrolled, and I would pay no more than 20 plat. If they say, hey, it's a new weapon, if they try to say, hey, it's a good weapon, no matter what they say, don't pay over 20 plat for this. It's really not worth it. Even 20 plat is like excessive, but I feel like I personally believe there's no unrolled Riven that's worth under 20 plat, especially if it's unrolled, just because it's the first 10 rolls are cheaper. So if you were to get a Riven for this, like, don't overpay. That's all I want to tell you, is do not overpay. I got both these Rivens for 20 plat each, and then I rolled them up. That's how I got them, right? So don't think that, oh, even a God roll, like I've never seen a God roll for this weapon, which I assume from my testing, I would probably say a God roll might even be this Toxin Electricity multi-shot with a negative. If this had like not negative puncture, because since it's a raw damage, you just want the number there, right? You just want the stat. It's not really about. So if you were trying to get a God roll for this, it would probably be like minus recoil or something, right? It would basically, in my opinion, it would be this with a minus. But to each their own. Some people would probably want this with a third positive to be the God roll multi-shot and call this the God roll, but I kind of disagree. I'm a sucker for dual stat mods, though. What can I say? So that is the long and short of the build. Maybe I would like to see someone try to improve my build. I haven't really found many videos on this weapon because it's just kind of bad, right? You can't use it with a lot of characters. It has to be a very specific build. You gotta have armor strip. You gotta you gotta do all these extra steps to get it really cranking. And this is like a really good Harrow build I have. But, and again, before you start using it too, you gotta get the Ballistari buff. You shouldn't just start shooting it like I was, you gotta get the Ballistari buff. And as you can see at the top of the screen, you see that 40 seconds there, all the way at the end, it's counting down now. So you really want to get the most out of it, especially since it has a very limited ammo pool. And the Ballistari Might will allow you to get over its max cap. So let's see if now we can actually kill, now that we have some Merciless stacks. So it took a couple shots to kill, but again, so in order to get the most out of this, you need to play hero, get the Ballistari buff, also have pillage on your Warframe, oh, and also use your 4 and take up a lot of damage, and then you'll be able to find success with this weapon. And if you were planning on using this for your teammates, remember again, you have to throw it next to them, not hit anything, have them get a kill while they're in it. So the main uses for this weapon are a very specific hero build, or if you're secondary main. I think that this is a very sick weapon. If there's a lot of people who only use their secondary in melee, right? Like recently Nightmare Frame did a super cool Saren Basilisk build, really cool level cap Demolist Saren build. I'm tempted to straight up copy his build because that's like perfect. And he didn't use his primary at all, at least from the like hour or two I watched of his stream of it. This weapon could be great for if you're doing some sort of weird level cap shenanigans and you're only using your secondary in like the Inadem or what have you. So I do think that this weapon has potential and can have use cases, but most weapons have like several use cases, right? This weapon has like 2. You want to be secondary, even for buff it, like secondary for this specific hero build, and even if you're using it to buff your teammates, again, like I said, they gotta get kills in the orb, which I found it frustrating that you'll throw it down next to people and they'll immediately run out of it, so it's got very limited use case. But at some point I will be doing some Steel Path gameplay of this on this specific hero build, but I just want to keep this video brief and concise before anyone invests into the Afentis and tries to test it out, because I do think it can be worthwhile for you secondary mains out there, or you hero builds with, this is like a bog standard hero build. I think that other people use similar hero builds, perhaps, I'm not sure. I think that this is a standard hero build, I don't know anymore. But it is what it is. So the long and short of it is, don't overpay for a Riven for this weapon. Use it for if you're a secondary main, and if you're a hero main, and if you want to try to be supportive, and that you have a godly secondary that can carry you. Aside from that, there's not too much more to say besides just repeating myself like 5 more times. So if you felt like you learned something from this video, the only way you can inform me of, like, you found it funny, or you think it sucks, you think the Afentis sucks, the only way you can let me know that information is if you go on Google and you type in CIA crimes or FBI crimes, and you just start looking up the highly documented and publicized crimes that our government has perpetrated onto our own citizens. So yeah, that's the only thing you can do to let me know anything, actually. So get on that post haste. Bye.